I'm joined by professional golfer on the Women's All-Pro Tour, Maddie Frerking. How you doing today?
Good.
Good. Yes, you're a professional golfer on the WAPT Tour. Can you tell me a little bit about the WAPT Tour and yeah, how was 2023 for you and your golf game? Just recap the past season.
I wish my season would have been a little bit more successful, but I've made more cuts than I had in previous years, so overall I can't be too disappointed. And in terms of WAPT, I know Gary owns the tour and Kathy, and they do a great job running it. And so I have no complaints. They take good care of us, and I enjoy playing there.
Nice. So tell me about your golfing journey. When did you begin playing golf? What age you begin playing, and do you have any early memories of playing golf, growing up?
Yeah, so I'm not really sure when I started playing golf. It was kind of always one of those things I did with my dad growing up, kind of join around in the golf cart, get out, hit a shot here and there. But I played competitive golf starting in high school. So that's when I really started to actually like pick it up and play. Um, but yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I feel like I started golf a little bit later than most people, so it's been a bit different.
Yeah, growing up, did you play like junior golf, high school golf, or did you play in any tournaments growing up?
Yeah, so I played junior golf. I would go to like the junior golf camps at some over the summers at the golf course, but it
Hmm.
wasn't something I did consistently. And then I tried out for the high school team. And I played a little bit in high school, and then kind of I decided I remember the moment was I was a sophomore in high school and I was trying to qualify to move on to districts from conference, and I had missed it by one. And I had taken I think like a seven on my first hole. It had taken me like five shots to get out of a bunker on my first hole, and I missed moving on by one, and I was just completely destroyed. I was so upset, and I was like, man, imagine what would happen if you actually wanted to try. And so from there, I kind of got bit by the bug, if you will, and kind of got into the AJGAs from there. So it was actually the summer after my sophomore year of high school that I started playing in the competitive golf tournaments.
Yeah, junior golf or high school golf. Did you have any friends, that you played with, or any notable players that you got to play with, growing up?
No, not really. I feel like growing up in the Midwest, golf is such a confined season, and it's
Yeah,
so funny. Like I felt like you ran into all the same people, so I did know like a lot of the girls in the area, and still do keep in contact with some of them. But most of them don't play anymore. So
nice. So you grew up in Kansas City, Missouri. So tell me about growing up in Kansas City, and when did you move to Texas?
yeah, so I did grow up in Kansas City, just outside of it, in the suburbs, in the Lee Summit, Blue Springs area. And the weather there isn't really golf friendly. But other than that, like that's where my family was from, so that made the most sense at the time. But yeah, your season's pretty finite. In April it could be snowing or it could be 70. Like it's very finicky weather. Um, but yeah, I moved to Texas the my junior year of college.
Okay,
So relatively recent within like the last 7 years ish.
okay. And you live in, correct me if I'm wrong, but you live in Spring, Texas, which is just outside of Houston.
Correct. Yeah, just north
Yeah.
part of Houston.
Yeah. So tell me, well, what is it like living in Houston?
I really love it. Honestly, I love it. I always tell people like I won't leave. This is my place. It's warm weather. My golf season is, pretty extensive. Even when it's cold, it's not so cold that you usually can't golf, maybe a couple weeks of the year. Um, and there's so many good golf courses here and lots of people playing, super active city. So it's just a really great place to live, in my opinion. I know people in Texas tend to be all about Texas, but I love it here, so I find that to be a fair statement.
Nice. Yeah, so the Chevron Championship, the LPGA Tour Major, is now played in Houston. So yeah, you live in Houston. So being a Houston native, what does it mean to you to have an LPGA Tour Major now in
Yeah,
Houston?
that was super exciting actually. So I did do a little bit of work with LPGA when they came to
Yep.
Houston last year for the first time. And Carlton Woods is like a super beautiful venue as well. So I went out there um and kind of promoted what a fan experience would look like out there. And they'd done it up really well. And you got to see all the hospitality tents, and there was some interactive stuff going on. And it was a really cool experience, and they put it together really well. Obviously it was disappointing to see such a historical tournament move from such an amazing venue in Palm Springs, at Dinah, where we play Q school, and like there's just so much history there with Poppy's Pond. But I think they did a great job of migrating it to Houston, and selfishly, of course, being in Houston, I was very excited about that. And then just kind of integrating in some of the history with still jumping in the water and stuff. And I think they did a great job of keeping some of those integral parts of women's golf in there.
Yeah, not only having the amazing course of Carlton Woods, but also having the partnership with Chevron, I think is really great, not only for this championship but for the LPGA Tour in general.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I know obviously Houston being a big hub for oil and gas, it makes a lot of sense because, people can bring clients out there, and kind of give women's golf a little bit bigger platform as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, so very excited to have this major now played in Houston. So you played college golf at Southern Illinois and the University of Incarnate Word. What drew you to these schools, and how was it going from Southern Illinois to the University of Incarnate Word?
Yeah, so they're both very different universities, and I liked them for very different reasons. So went to Southern Illinois in Edwardsville my first 2 years. I loved the coach. It was a great campus. I loved the people. I roomed with some of the volleyball girls my first year, and it was like such a good community of athletes. And I just really loved the environment and the people and the experience there. Unfortunately, my second year there, um, they had some budgetary issues in Illinois. And so they had to, because of Title IX, they cut men's tennis, they had to cut a women's program, and they chose to cut women's golf. So a little bit later or I guess earlier in the year, technically, shortly before signing day, they had informed us that we were no longer going to have a place there. So we needed to find somewhere else to be. So it was kind of a bit of a last minute scramble to find universities. So I started touring other places. I had gone to, a couple Texas A&M campuses. I had gone to North Texas. I had gone to Incarnate Word, just kind of getting a feel for, different universities out there. And when I went to Incarnate Word, UIW, it was very different than what I was used to. And that was a little bit scary, but they had a really cool golf facility, which was really exciting because that's not something we had. So it was a really cool opportunity. They had, this really beautiful facility that had indoor bays, that had a simulator, it had a workout room, it had a locker room, we had our own personal putting green. The facility was located on a golf course that we practice at, 15 minutes from campus maybe. So it was a really cool opportunity, but for like very different reasons. I had access to all this technology, and a facility that I hadn't had before. So I saw that as an opportunity to get better as a player. And I ended up, and of course, San Antonio being a big city, going from like a rural, outside of St. Louis, I guess, to actually San Antonio, the campus being literally downtown, was completely different as well. So it was just an entirely different experience, and I loved them both. They're just it's apples to oranges.
Nice. So just in overall, how was your college golf experience? And do you have any highlights or memories from your college golf experience? Or, what's the highlight just making memories with your college teammates?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I would say I overall had like a really positive college golf experience. I think that, everybody walks out of college athletics with I would say some trauma of some kind. Just because, everybody's experience is different and there's a learning curve for everybody. And, for some people it's, not having very good coaches. For some people it's having, been bullied on the team. For some people it's the balance of, having a bad body image and feeling like you're not good enough with your workouts, so there's always something there. I feel like some sort of underlying issue people encounter in college. But I would say overall, like, most athletes in general would recommend it to anybody, because like the overwhelming positive experience that you have kind of takes over the negative that you experience. And kind of like the camaraderie that you get with your team. It's like a part of a family. So, for example, even the people that I met in college are some of my best friends still. Be in a couple of their weddings, still keep in contact. And so it's just funny. Like, I would say there's so many highlights and memories that, I could go through and walk down. I actually did that last week. One of my former college teammates that I just happened to meet, we transferred into UIW at the same time. And we both came from different universities, and had no idea what to expect. We just met up. We're like, hey, you're a transfer. I'm a transfer. you want to get some coffee and like meet up? Because we're both have no idea what's going on here. And we ended up like closing down the Starbucks because we hit it off. And, I actually met up with her out of the country last week in Germany, and her and I were chatting and we're like, oh my gosh, do you remember, XYZ? Oh, I remember this. And so there's just so many highlights and positive memories that, I get to keep as well. So to anybody who wonders like whether or not they should, pursue a sport in college, like 10 out of 10, absolutely. Like it's such a good experience.
Yeah, this past fall, I went to a few college events around me as a spectator, and it was just great to see, all the, teammates, hanging out, around the 18th green, chatting, hugging players as they, finished their round, whether they, shot under par, over par, it didn't really matter. Just, you can tell that, just, making memories, playing with your teammates is important, regardless of what you shoot.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what I
And
could
golf's
tell.
not usually a team sport either, so it's
Mhm.
like a really fun dynamic to get to experience.
Yeah, for most people, in golf it's individual, and then for those 4 years in, college, it's a time where you get to, play with teammates and, be on a team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you had three siblings growing up. Do any of your siblings play golf or do they play any other sports? What was it like growing up with three other siblings?
So I'm the oldest of three siblings, so I would say I played a little bit of everything. I was, the trial run, if you will. And then from there, my siblings kind of narrowed it down. Like my sister tried basketball, softball. She didn't like it. My other sister tried basketball, softball. She really enjoyed softball for a little bit. Neither one of them picked up golf. Really, I think they both kind of played around with the idea, but they just liked other sports better, other hobbies better. One of them's really gifted artistically, so they had other things that they were doing. And then my brother, he played other sports. He, tried some lacrosse, tried football, basketball, all the different sports. And he's recently actually picked up golf. So he's been going out and playing with my dad and I, and it's been fun. He's pretty comical. He's some good comedic relief for me, to remind her not to take it too seriously. But he's 18, so he does get a bit frustrated. He does have that teen, I would say, short fuse, if you will. So there are definitely times where I'm like, you're not good enough to get this mad about it. It's perspective. Um, but it is still fun, and he's been a nice addition to the golf group.
Nice. So what was it like when you turned pro in 2019? And, how has your time been getting to play on the WAPT tour since 2019?
Yeah, it's been interesting. So 2019, I turned pro. Um, that was, I can't remember if that was the inaugural year of the WPT or was the second, but it was still
Okay.
pretty new at the time. And obviously, like as being a part of it since then, it's been interesting to see how it progressed and how like things have developed in a really positive way, and also how the competitions developed in a really like competitive way where you can see the cut line back then and the cut line now, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many, there's several strokes between what it used to be and what it is, and the competition with girls is just getting increasingly better, and it's just getting tougher to make it out there, which is great because you want to play against the best, and that's where some of your competition is. But it's definitely different than it was back in 2019, and then obviously in 2020 and part of 2021 COVID hit, so it was kind of a strange way to start my professional career, where you started playing and then it was like everything stopped. So it was a bit of a unique experience.
Yeah, so I see you played in some Epson Tour tournaments in your career. So yeah, what's it like anytime you get to play in an Epson Tour event?
So the first Epson tour event I played in, I was very, very nervous.
Okay.
As anybody is going to the next level, you want to perform well. You don't want it to reflect poorly on you. And I was very nervous, and I did not play very well. And the last time I went and played, I played decent, and I really enjoyed it. I think the Epson tour, does a great job with what they do, and I love the girls out there, and everybody's very friendly. Um, I was a bit obviously gutted at the last Epson tour event that I played in, where I finished birdie birdie to miss the cut by one. It was a really cool experience. However, on 18, I finished on 18 that day, and 18 was quite a tough hole, and we were playing it with this big gusting wind towards the water. And I'd hit a really good approach shot, or hit a really good drive, really good approach shot, and made a really good putt for birdie on the last in front of the gallery, to move on to the cut line, which was really exciting. So I got a big round of applause, like both when I made the putt and as I walked off the green. So it was just a really cool experience for me to get to have, having all that positive attention from the spectators and whatnot. Unfortunately, obviously the cut line kind of moved actually backwards, and so I missed it by one. But it was still a really cool experience to have, being so close and getting to experience that like rush of adrenaline.
Yeah, at my home course here in Connecticut, we have a Epson Tour event in July, and yeah, it was raining. So for let's see, the first day on Friday, we had a rain delay for the whole morning, and then they played in the afternoon. And then on Sunday, they played 5 holes, and it was just an absolute deluge. It was just pouring the whole day. But so I asked this next question because I know from experience, at least at my tournament, they were, scrambling to get, host housing, players finding caddies, things like that. So just talk about, how difficult it is. How difficult is it being a professional golfer, especially, on Epson Tour, WAPT Tour, some of these, lower tours, not the LPGA Tour.
Yeah, so I would say definitely most people struggle the most with like the finances of playing
Okay.
on developmental tours.
Mhm.
You still have all the expenses of playing on a tour, where your entry fee, your hotel, your caddy, your food, your travel expenses, and some of the tours like a WPT or an Epson will do their best to help mitigate that for you with host houses and stuff like that. However, for example, you said the Epson event up in Connecticut,
Yeah.
you still have to get your way there, right? So like whether that's flights or gas or whatever it is, like it's still a big expense not only to enter but to then travel and then get food and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And if you don't, even if you do have host housing, you still have additional expenses to compensate. So it's quite financially draining. And then golf, I would say, is quite mentally draining as well and physically draining. And so if I feel like it definitely will beat you up more often than it rewards you. So it's just one of those things that, I would say most people run out of resources um, and fight before they run out of like the love for the game.
So outside of your professional golf career, you work for Grammy's Cookie Convoy as Troop Communications. So can you tell me about this company and your role as Troop Communications?
Yeah, so Grammy's Cookie Convoy is something that I kind of got involved with, got introduced by another player who doesn't work with the organization anymore, but I've kind of stuck around with it. And it's actually something that I really, really love and brings me so much joy. But what we do is we ship chocolate chip cookies and thank you cards overseas to deployed service members of all 5 branches. And I'm very lucky, like Troops Communications, my job specifically is I collect the thank you cards to send overseas. And so usually in the past, what that has entailed is I personally reach out and just kind of almost cold call with emails to just all the different local schools, and ask them, hey, would you be interested in doing this as like an after school project or, after finals or XYZ, like just make cards that I can send overseas, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, like any sort of group, I guess, organization that I can think that would be able to help me. Um, and I'm so lucky that a lot of schools and people are usually really great and want to participate. And, I know here in Houston anyway, like the Woodlands High School has always been such a big help and advocate for that. And then there's another school in Clear Lake. And, there's been years where they're some of my biggest donors giving me thousands of cards. And like, that's obviously so helpful for me to be able to send more. But in saying that, recently I've been very fortunate to partner with the local country radio station. And we have a project that we call 10K for the troops. And what 10K for the troops was originally the goal to get 10,000 cards to ship overseas in February with the 10,000 cookies that we sent. So one card per cookie, and kind of get all of Houston involved. And it exploded essentially. And it was amazing in the most beautiful way where I think the first year we ended up, I want to say was somewhere around 20 to 30,000 cards. And then obviously doing it this year, we ended up with even more. So it's been such a blessing to get involved with them because obviously I can only reach so far and on my own. And so having them be there to kind of help extend their helping hand and, reach out and use their connections has been amazing because then we get to impact more lives of other people as well. So it's been a really cool process to kind of see unfold and develop, as the years have gone on.
Nice. So you also work for Backswing Golf Events. Yeah, hopefully after the holidays going to be interviewing Mackenzie, the co-founder of Backswing. We've been in contact, but yeah, tell me about Backswing Golf Events and what you do for Backswing.
Yeah, so I've worked for Backswing between 3 and 4 years. I think it's my fourth year. Um, and essentially since I've turned pro, the year after, I believe. And it's been a good experience for the most part. I basically do a lot of charity events here in Houston and some other different states, depending on kind of where they need me, and where there's events going on. But the way it works is I go out to the charity events and they've already handled everything on the back end, whether I'm doing long drive, beat the pro on a par three, break the glass challenge, roaming pro. Like there's a bunch of different options that they offer. And so I'll go out there to whatever event is going on and I will fundraise essentially for whatever cause. So, for example, there was one early in March that was for Ronald McDonald's house. So I'll go out there and I'll fundraise, and everybody out there gets to participate in the game, and we have a lot of fun. And there's some laughs, we share jokes, and give away some raffle prizes, but ultimately are there to help raise money for whatever cause it is. In that case, Ronald McDonald House, and kind of help contribute to other people.
So your handle on social media is Houston underscore golf girl. I think that's one of the better handles for any of the professional golfers out there. We have some other good ones, when I was thinking about this question, Birdie McCurdy for Lindsay McCurdy, she's a player on the Epson tour. That's
Yeah.
another, solid social media handle. So tell me about, how you came up with your social media handle. And do you think you have, the best social media handle out of any professional golfer out there?
I wouldn't say I have the best one because, like you said, there's definitely some really funny ones, and you
Yeah.
can, like, I know a lot of girls, and follow a bunch of girls that I'm like, oh, that's pretty funny. Like, what a good pun in your in your handle. So I would actually say mine's probably one of the least creative, but
Okay.
I like it for myself, just because it was something that I created, back. Oh man, I don't even remember when I started it, but it was after I graduated college, so it had to have been 2019-ish. And my friend and I, she had majored in marketing, and we kind of had a bet like she was going to grow her social media, and so as kind of an incentive, we were like, let's see who can grow theirs faster. And so we were having kind of like a little competition to see like, okay, well, I'm up this many, I'm up this many. Okay, well, what about, so we were kind of having a contest, like a race to at the time, I think it might have been like a race to 2,000 or 5,000 followers to see who could hit it first. And so I had started mine by posting, and when I moved to Houston, um I was trying to kind of explore Houston, and I was unfamiliar with it, and playing the different golf courses and like seeing, okay, well, this one I liked, this one I didn't, this one was kind of okay, and kind of posting about where I was at the time, and people seemed to really enjoy that. So that's when I switched my handle to Houston Golf Girl, because I was golfing across Houston, um, and like at all these different courses. And so it kind of took off, and like that was kind of how I ended up branding myself. Was then I would post different courses in Houston. I was posting putting drills. I was posting, different drills for the range, and kind of just turned into, like, inadvertently turned into a golf page, that I almost didn't mean for it to. So it went in a really positive way.
Yeah, so I have two more questions. Jay, you just mentioned, yeah, what are some of your top or some of your favorite courses in Houston?
I mean, my favorite courses, I guess, um, they're not technically in Houston. Obviously, Houston's just huge, so it
Yeah.
encompasses a wide range of places. But I would say my favorite course, just to play, is Whispering Pines. It's not really in Houston; it's north of Houston,
Okay.
up in Madi. But I think it's either usually one or two in the list for top courses in Texas in general, and it's just a really beautiful place. It's like out in the middle of nowhere. You would never know it's there. It's like so serene, so many trees and water. It's just like a really beautiful, and strategically laid out course, and it's well taken care of. They do a great job up there. So I love that course as a whole, as like a just purely as a golf course. Like it's a really cool place. Um, Biasly, I did work at Blue Jack, so I really love Blue Jack and the experience that they offer there. I love the people, the members, um, and I think that's a really cool and a really special place as well. But obviously, for very different reasons, I think they offer a really cool experience, especially for families and community. It's a really cool place.
Finally, so yeah, my final question are, what are some goals, that you have for your professional career? Like, do you have a 5-year plan for your professional golf career? Like, where you want to see yourself, with your golf career in 5 years, or you just taking it year by year right now?
Yeah, so I would say in the next few years, I would like to be, I mean, I guess everybody's goal is to be on the LPGA. I would say my goal in the next
Yeah.
5 years is to be on the LPGA, kind of like a very basic answer. More specifically, I would hope that that's the case in the next three. That is kind of, I feel like
Mhm.
has been my timeline from since I started, like by the age of 30. I would like to be on the LPGA or have some sort of conditional status. My golf coach and I have laid out personal goals for me, and how we would like to see that go. And, kind of if I'm not there by this time period, then I think I'm probably going to hang in the towel and be done with it just because, I've been at it for quite a while. Um, and I do love it, but, I also recognize that it's really hard and it's mentally and it's physically and it's financially draining. And I don't want to be, we always joke, like, if you play golf, like, you don't want to be the person that's 30, 35 and going back to stage one of Q school, 15 years in a row and shooting 80. Like, that's just, it's not fun. Like, it's no hate towards anybody doing that. It's just not fun, because that's not moving you in the direction you want to go. And it just, like, it sucks. It hurts. So for me personally, I hope to be LPGA by 30. I might give myself a little leeway after that. But we'll after that, I think it's going to definitely be we'll see, one year at a time. But until then, I think that's kind of